So we woke up to news that Hurricane Melissa is now a Category 5 hurricane and still expected to hit Jamaica. So how's the weather where you are? If you can hear rain in my background, that's because there's rain in my background. I'm Dion Jackson Miller. Thanks so much for joining me. Time for tea. Now I'm recording this video on Monday, October 27, 2025. It's about 2 p.m. We are anticipating the arrival of Hurricane Melissa, and some areas of Jamaica have already started to see increased wind and rain. It is raining steadily here in Kingston, not very, very heavily, but I would say it's been pretty steady throughout the day. Now, since there's a lot going on, whole lot of information coming at you. Look, I know you don't have time to sit down and watch 2-hour-long press conferences, so I'm going to use this video to give you some of the main points, a summary coming out of the latest press conference held earlier today that the government had, talking about preparations for the arrival of Hurricane Melissa. And no matter what Melissa does, this video I think will still be useful to give you a sense of what is being done, especially for our friends watching from overseas. Let's start with Evan Thompson, who heads the Meteorological Service of Jamaica. All right, you see this? What am I showing you? It's something we still don't get right. Now, the deaf community uses sign language. To understand sign language, you have to see people's hands because then talk with them hands. We tend to prioritize seeing the talking heads, putting them on cam in the big picture, over seeing the sign language interpreter, and then deaf people can't see, so they don't know what is being said. In this case, what is happening is that the sign language interpreter is standing behind Evan Thompson, but they have given the huge screen to the actual picture of the hurricane. No, that could be way smaller, so that the sign language interpreter could be in a bigger square so we could see her better, so deaf people can be able to understand. Hopefully this gets better throughout the press conference, but I'm mentioning it because we do get it wrong all the time.
Shows that the hurricane, the center of the hurricane, is now some distance, over 100 miles to the south of Jamaica. It is south really of one of those points along the coast of St. Elizabeth. So it is really in that general direction, which would signify that it is closer to the western end of the island than to the eastern. You know, there's a common feeling that if it reaches there, that means the eastern part is free of all folly and will not experience anything that is related to this hurricane. But I would like to tell you that that is not really the case. And although the center has moved past your longitude, which is how far west it is, you will still see that the situation will deteriorate further right across the country, and all parishes are likely to be impacted.
All right, great, concise, straightforward information there coming from Evan, but the sign language situation didn't get any better as he continued. Come on, people. It's 2025. Also, the deaf community has been complaining for ages about this particular problem. The reality is, we think it's more important to show politicians than to put in place proper systems to ensure that this group of Jamaicans can understand what is going on. What we do tends to be performative. If we say, yeah man, we're inclusive, we have a sign language interpreter, but nobody can see the sign language interpreter's hands, it is for nothing.
But let me show you what our radar image is projecting as well. The radar, the Doppler radar in Jamaica is showing that there are numerous showers associated with the system. The center, as I said, some distance to the south, but around that center, immediately around it, is a very tightly knit area of showers, thunderstorms, intense activity, also very, very, very strong winds. That is where the maximum winds of the hurricane are actually concentrated, in the eye wall, which is right around that eye. And it's a very distinct eye. It's a number of a couple of miles probably wide. And so it will actually show when it moves, if it moves over the island itself, a number of areas will experience the calm of the eye. But of course, that cannot be possible until you have gone through the eye wall. And again, after the eye passes by, you have another aspect of the eye wall to go through as well.
All right, now we can see the sign language interpreter properly. You see the difference if what you're trying to see is what she's doing with her hands. Now, I know, as I said, the previous video was because of the screen, but what needed to happen was to make the square with her in it and Avon much bigger, because we have to see what she's saying. So here's Minister with responsibility for Works, Robert Morgan, to talk about the infrastructure side of the preparation.
The National Works Agency, through its Emergency Operations Center, has so far received 15 reports from across the island. These reports include fallen trees, rockfall, down power lines, and landslides. We've responded and removed the impediments and repaired, or reopened rather, all but one of the roads that have been blocked, and we're actively working to reopen the one that is currently blocked, which was impacted by fallen trees. And I think this one is in St. Anne's Bay near the roundabout. We continue to urge people to exercise extreme caution if they have to be outdoors at this time. Rock falls are an imminent threat. We have seen this along the Little Bay Main Road in St. Mary, and there are other places that are susceptible to this kind of situation, so we urge caution. We've done quite a bit of work across the island in terms of drain work mitigation, and several critical drains across the island have been impacted, have been targeted, and we will continue as long as it's safe to do so. So you would have seen even yesterday we had a front-end loader in the Sandy Gully trying to continue to create a pathway for the water to move to the sea. On Thursday we also started work on the channel to the sea in the Sandy Gully, and this section is critical, and I want to explain a little bit as to what we have done at the Sandy Gully. We were in the process of planning a massive rehabilitation of the gully, also a massive desilting program for early next year, but the hurricane did not acquiesce to our timing, and as such we had to move very quickly to the urgent work. The most important thing that we are trying to do is, one, protect the lives and property of the people who live adjacent to the gully past the bridge near Seaview Gardens, and two, the bridge that is on Spanish Town Road, which is a very critical bridge. It connects to the ports. As I said before, it connects to Jamaica's most important health facility, KPH, also Bustamante Children's Hospital if you're traveling from that side. So it's very important that we not allow that bridge to be damaged if the hurricane does inundate that area. We've removed 500 loads of silt from under the bridge or in the vicinity of the bridge over the last 5 days. Some persons are saying, well, we should clean all the way to the sea. That is 1.5 kilometers from the bridge to the sea, and it is 37 meters wide. If that section that we cleaned was 500 truckloads of silt, think about how many trucks and excavators and backhoes and front-end loaders would be required to remove 1.5 kilometers of silt with a width of 37 meters, a couple thousand trucks. So we have done as much as the engineers have said we can do at this time to create a pathway under the bridge so that water can flow.
All right, so if we're having already reports about trees down and other reports like that, and Melissa isn't even here yet, you see the kind of concerns we're anticipating. And yes, drains in Jamaica, big problem, have been a big problem for years. Now Mr. Morgan says a national drain improvement plan is in place. It's going to be implemented in stages, but clearly we can't solve that problem ahead of Melissa. Now here's the Transport and Energy Minister Darrell Vaz, because the airports had to be closed.
The airports remain closed until such time as the hurricane passes. The toll booths are all open, all, both on the east-west and the north-south, not just on the main, but on the exits as well. And those will remain open until such time as the recovery of the hurricane is at a point where we can reopen. JUTC, all bus service has been terminated. Only emergency services for JUTC, which I'll give you some information. And as I would have said last night, that we have also activated our rural school buses, which will play a critical role in rural Jamaica.
Here's Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie.
As I have reported previously, there are over 800 shelters across Jamaica. Of the 800 shelters that are open, only 76 of the 800 shelters are seeing any activities at all. The number of persons so far, the up-to-date information that I have in my possession, which was presented to me based on the networking that we have been doing, represents 972 persons in shelters. There are 4 parishes that have no one in the shelters. Clarendon has the highest number of persons so far, 311, followed by St. Thomas with 227, and Kingston and St. Andrew with 179. I am hoping that the next update that is presented will show a much greater picture, because I'm concerned that in the parishes where this system is heading, the numbers are small. St. Elizabeth, our number is 27. In St. James, 24. In Westmoreland, 32. And the numbers are very low. I am expecting that by later this afternoon, we will see increased numbers of persons going to the shelters.
One of the criticisms of this administration is that the role of the technocrats, the experts, has been minimized. Instead of the Director General of ODPEM, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, it's the politicians leading the proceedings. So we've seen the Acting Director General of ODPEM. Let me say, we have seen him speaking at some of the previous press conferences, but the impression being given with this administration very much is that it's the politicians leading, not the people who have been specially trained to manage this kind of thing. And of course, the role of the relevant minister is always going to be important. We always need to hear from them, but we have never before seen a situation in which the role of the technocrats and the experts has been so minimized. Now, Prime Minister Andrew Holness was asked to respond to some of the Facebook comments that have been on social media, mostly from the people them upsaw, suggesting that our disaster management operations is some kind of patty shop. No disrespect to patty shops. If I have time, I'll ask you to do a response video, not to be facing, not to counter facing with faciness, but just to put some facts out there to try to dispel some of the nonsense and the faciness and the out of orderness we've been seeing.
There is no infrastructure in the region that can withstand a Category 5. There is going to be damage if there is a Category 5. I believe it was Cancun that had a major hit in the last hurricane in Mexico. And we've seen what it did to Puerto Rico and other islands. And those weren't Category 5s. So a Category 5 hurricane will definitely damage roofs. It will definitely compromise infrastructure, even concrete infrastructure. It will scour roads. It will destroy agriculture and vegetation. No doubt it will impact our ports and our airports. There's no question about that. However, if you didn't take precautions to clear the drains, if you didn't take precautions to move people to safety, then the damage is compounded. And that is why we emphasize preparation, because the preparation lessens the damage and it makes the recovery that much easier. And we accept that there's going to be damage, and so you position yourself to deal with the impacts of the damage. So for example, we know after a hurricane we're going to have mosquitoes and we're going to have dengue if it's not prepared for. So Ministry of Health is putting in place measures to deal with that.
One thing about the Prime Minister, he has a really nice tone in times of disaster. We saw it during COVID as well. He sounds reassuring. He sounds authoritative. Sound like him know what him doing. The only thing is, man, the man is not concise. All right, so I'm going to leave it there, folks. This is a fast-moving situation, so things are changing by the hour. But as I said, the main purpose of this video was to give you a sense of what is being done. And hopefully that helps you to understand how Jamaica has been preparing for the arrival of Tropical Storm Melissa. Comment below, tell me how you're feeling where you are. And as always, like the video, share it with somebody who might be interested, subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you know anytime I drop a new video. We're over 40,000 subscribers now. Fantastic news. Keep liking, keep sharing, right? Keep watching so I can keep growing the channel. I'm Dion Jackson Miller. Back to my tea.